Hello everyone, my name is Janina. Welcome back to my channel. As you may already guessed from the title of this video, this is all about books that everyone loved, but I unfortunately didn't, which I'm very sad about. Like, some of these are so popular and they're so hyped and loved by so many people, but I was not a huge fan of all of them, sadly. I mean, some of them were okay, but most of them I just really was like very indifferent about, I guess. So without further ado, let's just get started and I will tell you about the books that I read but sadly did not like very much, but everyone else apparently did. So the first series I have here is the Darker Shade of Magic series by V.E. Schwab. I have the rest of the series over here in my shelves. This is a fantasy trilogy that is set in different kinds of London cities. So we have like a grey London or a white London or a red London, and in every London the magic is a little bit different. Maybe it's a bit stronger or they have no magic at all. And we follow Cal, who is our main character, and he is the last Antari. So Antari are people who have the ability to travel between these different kinds of London cities. So he normally travels between these different Londons to like smuggle stuff and do his jobs, and while he is on a job like for smuggling things go a little bit awry and he has to flee to the Grey London, and there he meets Delilah. She's a girl without any magic at all, and Cal and her meet again and again and again, and this is kind of what we follow, like their adventure and how the different kinds of Londons have different problems and how they have to save the world. Obviously, I went into this with quite high expectations because I heard about it a lot and I was really like interested in like this, oh, it's set in like a London city, and I love London. It's one of my favorite cities in the world, but sadly I was quite disappointed by the whole trilogy. I gave all of these books 3 stars, which is like fine. It's like solid, right? It's okay, it's not a terrible book, but it's also not the greatest thing ever, I guess. So my problems with this were, firstly, I didn't really like the writing style very much. I thought it was very simplistic because she uses a lot of short sentences and she's very repetitive and just very, it all felt very simple and very like just short and just very cut off, in my opinion. Also, to me, the whole trilogy felt a little bit weak because it wasn't that engaging as I hoped it would be. Maybe it's because it's all set in like this one city, which I normally don't really like in my fantasy books. I like when you have like this whole world and you explore this whole world and you move around a lot, and you don't have that in this. Obviously they move and they travel and stuff, but they still stay in this one area all the time. And this is not something that I normally really like in fantasy books. Also, I didn't really like the characters very much. Like, Cal is supposed to be this like really strong character, and he is sometimes, but no, but I felt like he's really whiny and very like childish, and just I couldn't connect to him at all. Also, Delilah, I couldn't stand her, sadly, and just how she like handled herself and just thought that she's better than everyone else and that she's so different, and she just felt very arrogant, in my opinion, which I really didn't like at all. There were like 2 or 3 characters I really liked. Cal has a brother that I really liked, and one of the villains I also quite enjoyed, like how he was written and like his history and everything. I wish there was more about like some of these characters, to be honest, and not like the main characters that we follow throughout these books. Even the magic system wasn't something that was like this incredible, like mind-blowing thing. I don't even remember anymore what kind of magic system this book has, which says a lot. I was a little bit disappointed by this, and I can understand why people really like it, but I was not one of these people, sadly. Then the next trilogy I sadly did not enjoy, even though so many other people enjoyed it very much, and that is the Grisha Trilogy by Leigh Bardugo. So it is set in a Russian-inspired fantasy world where people called Grisha have the magical abilities and other people don't. So we follow Alina, who is our main character, and she is in the military, and her regiment has to cross the so-called Shadow Fold. So the Shadow Fold is something that kind of divides the country, and like only monsters roam there, and it's very dangerous, and only darkness is there. But she and her regiment has to cross that to get to another city. And while they're in that Shadow Fold, they get attacked by the monsters that live there. And because of that attack, Alina's powers get triggered. And the other people obviously see that. And she kind of gets whisked away to like this institute for Grisha. And she gets trained to be a Grisha under the ruling of the Darkling. So the Darkling is kind of like the boss of the Grisha. And yeah, just we follow Alina and how she trains in the first book, and then obviously we have like a villain who is the Darkling, and we have like this war coming by the end of the series. I went into this with really low expectations because some of my friends read this or started to read it and really disliked the Grisha trilogy, so I was like, okay, if my friends don't like it, I probably won't either. And the first book I gave 3 stars, the second I gave 2 stars or 1.5, and the third book I gave 3 stars again. So like I said, it's solid, it's okay, but it wasn't incredible, like, at all. Like, my main problem, actually, with the Grisha trilogy was that I hated Alina. I hated the main character. I felt she was, like, such a flat character and had no dimension to her, because the only, like, characteristics she had, like, the only thing in her personality was, like, she was angry all the time, and then her, like, sudden amazing power that she gained, like, because she was attacked. Like, that's all there is to Alina, in my opinion, and I really disliked her. She's, like I said, she's always angry at everything. It's like always, she's full of rage, and she's so indecisive and very childish. And I get that she's a teenager, and obviously teenagers can be childish and dumb, and that's okay. But just how she was, like, annoyed me to no end. One of the other problems was that there were no other characters that I truly, like, loved and connected to, except for the Darkling. I enjoyed the villain because that's mostly what I do. I like villains in books a lot, so but even the Darkling could not make this book better than it was. I also really disliked that all the YA tropes that you could imagine were put into this book, like this normal girl, this plain girl that suddenly gains power and everyone loves her, and you have a love triangle, and then we have good and bad, and it was just so generic and so normal, and I was so indifferent and also a little bit angry about it as well. I hated the love triangle, or in general, I really disliked the romance because I felt Alina and her main love interest had no chemistry whatsoever, like none at all. I thought that they would be better off being friends, which, yeah, which I normally think a lot because I don't enjoy romance a lot. Actually, I love Six of Crows and I love Crooked Kingdom because I actually read both of them before I started the Grisha trilogy, and so I was like, well, if Leigh Bardugo can write like Six of Crows, the Grisha trilogy can't be that bad. But for me, it was that bad, sadly. But I still really love Six of Crows, like, so much. So yeah, sadly wasn't for me. Moving on. The next book that I really didn't like, which will hurt probably a lot of people, is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I truly disliked this book so much. It was so tedious to read for me, like, wow. So in The Night Circus, we follow a circus that only appears at night, and its performances only happen at night. And we follow Celia and Marco, who kind of enter this competition against each other to find out who will be the best magician to perform at the Night Circus. And yeah, we follow like a little bit the history of the Night Circus and how, like, both of these people fall in love, obviously, I mean, of course. And I just could not find something that I really truly enjoyed about this book. The only thing that I liked was like the magic elements about it and like the circus setting, but I didn't like the writing. It was so tedious. It was very boring for me because I felt like nothing was really happening. It just was just, I read and read and read and nothing was happening. It was so slow paced, and I need my books to be a bit more fast paced. I need like action and everything because I just get bored by the books. I didn't like the characters because I hated Marco, like the main guy. It's just, spoiler alert, just so you know. Like, he has a girlfriend at the beginning of the book, but when he meets Celia, he just drops his girlfriend and is just like, I don't care about you anymore. I only care about Celia now. And I hated that so much. He's like the worst. Like, the whole romance made no sense for me, and just everyone is talking how magical and how atmospheric the book is. It didn't feel that way for me at all, unfortunately. So yeah, I was really sad about that because I really wanted to like Night Circus, but obviously I didn't, and I don't think I will pick up The Starless Sea by the same author, because I was so disappointed in the Night Circus, and if she writes the same way, I don't think I will enjoy her other books. The next one will really hurt as well. Like, I'm so sorry, but I'm also not very sorry. But yeah, everyone loves the series, but I sadly didn't. Like, I was not blown away by it. It was fine, but not like incredible, you know? And that is the Mistborn Trilogy by Brandon Sanderson. I know. Yeah, I know. So I think most fantasy fans have already read this or heard about it. So this book is set in the world that is slowly dying, and like ashes fall from the sky, and we have like this lord ruler who kind of oppresses the whole society. And then we have Kelsier, who is a Mistborn, and a Mistborn is someone in this world that can use magic. So people can use their magic by ingesting metals. So for example, if you ingest iron, you can maybe see better or something. I don't really know what iron does anymore, but you know, just for an example. So whenever a Mistborn ingests or like eats, drinks, whatever metal, then their powers come out and they can use them like for fighting and everything. So we have Kelsier, who is one of the Mistborns in this book, and he meets Vin. And Vin is kind of like this street girl who has no home and has no family and is all alone, and he kind of takes her in and trains her to be a Mistborn, because right at the beginning she kind of already shows that she has the ability to become a really great Mistborn. So yeah, we follow that in the first book, how she trains to use her abilities, and then it just gets really complicated because Kelsier wants to use his powers to overthrow the Lord Ruler. So he gets a lot of people together to help him with that. So where do I start with the Mistborn trilogy? So the thing is that I gave the first book actually 4 stars, which is quite good, right? But the second and the third book I only gave 3 stars because I felt like it was so slow paced, and I felt like I was reading on and nothing was really like moving forward at all. The writing was good in general. I liked the writing. It was easy to read, and it was really like easy to follow, like the whole like warfare and the abilities and everything. But I felt like it could have been more compact, like he could have left some things out to make it not that long-winded, because it felt really long-winded to me. Also, another thing is I didn't really like any of the characters except for like 2, and one of them was a villain again. So yeah, you know, me and my villains. That was kind of sad because we follow mostly Vin and her, like the guy that she falls in love with, and oh my god, like that's another thing. Like the romance in this, I didn't like it. There was so much teenage angst in this, and it annoyed me to no end. I was like expecting this huge, amazing fantasy trilogy with like warfare, and the magic is in the center of this. But there's so much like angsty romance in it, and I'm not here for that. Like, no. So that annoyed me a lot. So the thing is, we have a lot of scenes in here where Vin has to go to like a court, and where she mingles together with like court people and like the high society, and tries to like find out stuff, and it's kind of like a spy. She's like really dolled up and beautiful and in dresses, and don't get me wrong, I'm all about that, like being strong and beautiful and everything, and I was really happy for her because she enjoys that. but it's just a me thing. I don't enjoy court settings like at all. I really don't like it when everything moves around in this court setting and with all these like stuck up people and everything. I just don't enjoy it. Obviously, I didn't know that before I went into this book, but it's just not something I enjoy, like just generally. So that was another thing that I was really disappointed by, to be honest. One thing that I truly enjoyed though is, or which I really liked, by the end of the whole trilogy, all your questions are answered. Like everything where you were like, oh, I don't understand this, or why is it like that? You get your answers in the end. So you put this book down and you're like, great, that was very satisfying. So that's really like thumbs up. I like that a lot. But just in general, I felt it was not like this incredible, mind-blowing, impact-leaving fantasy trilogy like everyone made it out to be, at least in my opinion. And I was very sad about that because, man, I wanted to love this series so much. I will continue reading things by Brandon Sanderson though, because I have a lot of series by him that I still want to read, or like books by him because I like his writing. So, but yeah, sadly was quite disappointed by this. Then for the next series, I only read the first volume, and that is Red Rising by Pierce Brown. So this is a science fiction book, and in the first book we follow Darrow, who is a teenager again. So we have Darrow, who is a red. So in this book we have a caste system where the lowest are red and the highest are gold. And Darrow is, like I said, a red, and his job is kind of like building tunnels and making the Mars available for humanity, like so they can actually populate the Mars, and he has to make it as available as possible for humanity together with the other Reds. One day he actually finds out that everything they do, like all the Reds, is completely worthless because humanity is already much further and much more advanced than just populating the Mars. So he makes it kind of his mission to infiltrate this institute that has this competition where people from the gold caste come together and fight for like power and who becomes the next overlord and everything, because people from the gold caste are like daughters and sons from really high standing like politicians and everything. So Darrow wants to infiltrate the system. In this first book, he becomes gold, infiltrates this institute, and kind of like fights to death with other teenagers. That's basically it. That's the main thing that I still remember from this. And that's actually one of the things that I really didn't enjoy so much because, oh yeah, it has like a science fiction feeling about it, this book, but it feels very primal and very primitive because like the setting is in this kind of like fighting to death setting. You know, I was expecting more science fiction and I got like this primitive setting, and that was kind of really disappointing for me. Even though I know like that in the second or in the third book it's supposed to get like way more like science fiction-y. So I will continue with the series, and I gave this book 3 stars. Like I already said, it's fine. It's like solid 3 stars. It's okay. But I think the problem is that I was expecting something completely different from it. Yeah, that was kind of sad because I really wanted to like this as well. I mean, like all of these books I really wanted to like, but I didn't. I just have a different taste, man. That's probably it. Like I said, I will probably still continue with the series because I really want to know what happens next, but I'm in no rush to continue with the series. So there you go. So yes, these are all the books that everyone loved and I didn't, sadly. But I mean, you know, everyone has a different taste, and that's good actually, because it would be really boring if we all had the same taste and we couldn't talk about our different tastes, right? So yeah, let me know if you loved some of these books and why you loved them, or maybe if you didn't, then why you didn't, because I would be really interested in that as well. Again, like if some of these are your favorite books, I'm not trying to be mean or anything, it's just that I have a different taste than you, and that's totally fine. And if you loved them, please keep on loving them, and that's great, and I'm really happy that you like them. That's like good for you, you know, that's great. So anyhow, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you're all doing well when you're watching this, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!